Hello and welcome. You're watching Today in Parliament with me, Aishwarya, and these are the Parliament headlines. Rajya Sabha to take up National Investigation Agency Amendment Bill 2019 for consideration and passing. Bill to amend the National Investigation Agency Act 2008. Calling attention motion on malnutrition among women and children also in today's business. Motion called by 3 Rajya Sabha MPs. Lok Sabha sits till midnight to discuss demands for grants for agriculture and rural development ministries. House to continue debate to also take up demands for grants for youth and sports ministry. Rajya Sabha will take up the National Investigation Agency Amendment Bill 2019 for consideration and passing today. The bill, passed by the Lok Sabha on Monday, aims to amend the National Investigation Agency Act 2008. The bill allows the National Investigation Agency to investigate terror attacks on Indians and Indian interests abroad. The amendments will allow the NIA to probe cyber crimes and cases of human trafficking as well. It also mandates the setting up of special courts for the NIA. A calling attention motion is also listed in today's agenda to discuss malnutrition among women and children with reference to the government's Poshan Abhiyan. The calling attention motion is going to be moved by Rajya Sabha MPs Kehkashan Parveen, Jaya Bachchan and Vijayla Satyanant. All right, Kriti Mishra is now joining us live from Parliament. A very good morning, Kriti. Kriti, talking first about Rajya Sabha. Yesterday, 2 key bills were passed and today a very important bill, that is the National Investigation Agency Amendment Bill 2019 is going to come up for consideration and passing. There's also a calling attention motion that is scheduled. What more can you tell us?
Aishwarya, I beg your pardon?
Kriti, I was asking you about the business in Rajya Sabha today because there is a very important bill, the NIA Amendment Bill that is going to come up for consideration and passing. There's also a calling attention motion that is scheduled in today's business. So what more can you tell us?
That's right, Aishwarya. So there's a very important bill in the Rajya Sabha today for consideration and passage, which is the NIA Amendment Bill. Remember, this bill fortifies the NIA to investigate the cases of cyber terrorism, human trafficking, and also the offences related to counterfeit currency. When this bill was getting passed in the Lok Sabha, Home Minister Amit Shah had clarified that the government will not allow the misuse of this law, but the aim is to obliterate the menace of terrorism. There's also another important calling attention motion in the Rajya Sabha today that would be moved by members Jaya Bachchan, Kehkashan Parveen, as well as Vijayla Satyanant, and they will call the attention of Women and Child Development Minister on the issue of malnutrition. Remember, the government has set the target of eliminating malnutrition by the year 2022. So a very important calling attention discussion in the upper house today. Aishwarya?
Right, Kriti, stay with us. Take your breath. We'll just come back to you because we need to talk about Lok Sabha as well. And for the second time in less than a week, Lok Sabha sat till late night to discuss the demand for grants for agriculture and rural development ministries. Nearly 90 members participated in the debate and they expressed concern over the increasing number of farmers' suicide and worsening of agrarian situation. While the opposition members attacked the government for not doing enough for the agriculture sector, members of the ruling party stressed that the farmers are benefiting from the hosts of schemes that have been launched by the government. Further discussion on voting on demands for grants for agriculture and rural development ministries will continue today, and Union Minister Narendra Singh Tomar will reply to the debate. And the House will also take up discussion and voting on demands for grants for the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports for 2019-20 today. And submission to the vote of the House of outstanding demands for the grants of the Union Budget for 2019-20 is also slated in today's agenda, and Lok Sabha will also take up Appropriation Bill number 2 for introduction, consideration and passing if voting for the demands for grants concludes. Union Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will introduce the bill to authorize the payment and appropriation of certain sums from and out of the Consolidated Fund of India for the financial year 2019-20. Kriti, talking about Lok Sabha yesterday, we saw, how the House sat till late night to ensure that the demands for grants for, the agriculture and rural development ministries are cleared. And today that debate is also going to continue. And there is some legislative business that is also scheduled. Tell us the details.
Well, Aishwarya, we are seeing a very productive session of the Lok Sabha. Remember, even during the discussion on demands for grants for Ministry of Railways, the Lok Sabha sat till midnight. Yesterday also, there were extensive discussions on the demands for grants for the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, and also discussion on the Ministry of demands for grants for the Ministry of Rural Development as well as Agriculture. Remember, the government has set a vision of doubling the farmers' income by the year 2022. It also says that Garib, Kisan and Gaon, that is the fulcrum of the policies of the government. Even in the Union budget, we saw 75% hike in the budget for the agriculture as well as rural development sector. So today we expect the reply from the government on how the roadmap is laid out and set out for achieving that target of doubling the income of farmers. Also in the Lok Sabha, we'll see discussion on demands for grants for the Ministry of Sports and Youth Affairs. Remember, it is for the first time that a National Sports University has been established in the year 2018. The government has also committed to expanding the sports infrastructure in the country so that our sports persons could get laurels for the country. So a detailed discussion of the demands for grants for this particular ministry would also be held in the Lok Sabha. There's also appropriation number 2 bill that would be moved by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. So important day in the lower house as well. Aishwarya?
Right, Kriti. Thank you for all those updates there from Parliament. And here is a look at some of the ministers who will be laying papers on the table in Rajya Sabha today. Dharmendra Pradhan for the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Hardeep Singh Puri for the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. Krishan Pal for the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Nityanand Rai for the Ministry of Home Affairs. Ratan Lal Kataria for the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. And G. Kishan Reddy will make a statement regarding the status of implementation of recommendations contained in the 219th Parliamentary Standing Committee report on Home Affairs on action taken by the government on the recommendations contained in 213th report of the Committee on Security Situation in Northeastern States of India. And here is a look at some of the ministers who will be laying papers on the table pertaining to their ministries in the Lok Sabha. Rajnath Singh for the Ministry of Defence. Ravi Shankar Prasad for the Ministry of Law and the Ministry of Communications. S. Jaishankar for the Ministry of External Affairs. Dr. Harshvardhan for the Ministry of Science and Technology. Dharmendra Pradhan for the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Shri Padvyaso Naik will make a statement regarding the status of implementation of the recommendations contained in the Standing Committee on Defence on demands for grants on capital outlay on defence services, procurement policy and defence planning. And Jitendra Singh will make a statement regarding the status of implementation of the recommendations contained in the Standing Committee on Home Affairs on action taken by the government on the recommendations contained in the Committee on demands for grants pertaining to the Ministry of Development of Northeastern Region. Som Prakash will make a statement regarding the status of implementation of the recommendations contained in the Standing Committee on Commerce on the impact of Chinese goods on Indian industry. And motion for election to the Coconut Development Board will be moved by Union Minister Narendra Singh Tomar. And that's it in this edition of Today in Parliament. Do stay tuned. The proceedings of the Upper House are going to begin at 11 a.m. Thanks for watching.